friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a card using the Lawn Fawn Critters in the Arctic stamp set, as well as the Perfectly Plaid Fall 6x6. So I've stamped out my moose on some white cardstock and I'm going to color him in with Copic markers. So I've picked out E31, E33, E35, and E37 for the main portion of his body. And the first thing I did was just highlight his belly, just so I knew where I wanted that to go and I didn't accidentally color over it in a dark color. So I used the E31 for that. Now I'm taking the E37, which is my darkest, and I'm just going to go in and lay in some shadows where I think that they look right. I'm just going to work on his body first, and then I'll go back to his head, since he is a rather large image, and I don't want that ink to settle too much into the paper, so that it'll be easier to blend. So I'm taking the E35 now and just going along the edge of that E37 and just bringing that color out and letting it fade off a bit. And then I'm going to go in with the E33 and once again catch the edge of that. I like to use little circular motions to kind of eliminate any lines that you might get otherwise. And just bring that right down to that highlighted area where I left his belly drawn out for myself. And now I'll just take that E31 and just blend that into his body a little bit better so that it makes a more natural transition. And I had a bit of a harsh line there right on the inside of his leg, so I just went ahead and blended that back out again. And now I'm going to move on to his face. So just like with the rest of his body, I'm starting with that E37 and again just highlighting different areas. I want the lightest portion of his face to be right in the center, so I'm adding my darkest all along the edges and just working my way to the middle. So then I took the E35 and now I'm taking the E33 and just leaving that real center portion there for the E31, and I'll just blend that all together. This card is actually going to be a birthday card for my dad since his birthday is 2 days before mine. So we're definitely going to be going with a more masculine color scheme here. So for his antlers, I pulled out E51, E53, and E55, and I'm taking the E55 to just add a little bit of highlight to the base and also a little shadow on two parts of the antler there. And then I'm going to take the E53 and blend that out. And we'll use the E51 at the top where the sun would leave the most highlight. When I'm done with that, I will take the darkest two shades, the E55 and the E53, and just color in his little hooves, adding the shadow to the back of the hoof and then just filling in with the E53. When I started this card, I thought that I was just going to use the moose because I kind of wanted to feature him predominantly on the card. But then I decided that he just seemed a little lonely, so I added in two of the little birds from Chit Chat, and that's also going to give me an opportunity to add a little pop of color to the card as well. So for them, I'm using BG45 and BG49 for their bodies, and I'm just starting with the BG49 down towards the tail and their bellies, and then blending upward so that the lightest part of it is at the top of their head. The dark got a little bit too washed out for me though, so I went back with my BG49, just added a little bit in with a little flicking motion, and then blended right over the transition with the BG45, and then just added a little YR04 for their beaks. I die cut a circle of aqua blue cardstock with the Lawn Fawn Stitch Circle Stackables die. And then I took some orange and yellow cardstock and used the puffy cloud borders to die cut what is going to become my leaves and my bushes. And then I also die cut some dark brown and tan cardstock with the new Lawn Fawn birch tree dies, which I absolutely love, so that I would get just a little bit of variety of colors on the card. So I'm going to start adhering down my trees to my background, and I'm just going to vary the colors and the shapes as I make my way across the card. So I'm doing like a real skinny one, and then one of the fatter ones, and then, you know, a tan, and then a dark, and then also just trying to make sure that their branches are not at the exact same height, and yeah, just trying to make it seem a little more natural as it would appear in a forest. I'm also letting some of them overlap each other a bit, just so that it seems, I don't know, more realistic, like a real forest would. You know, the trees don't all grow completely apart. Some of them kind of interweave and things like that. So that's the kind of look that I'm going for here. So I'll give those just a second to dry, and then I'll flip that over and trim off all the excess, just following the shape of that circle. So that's how we're looking so far. So I'll just clean up all the little loose bits there, and then take a baby wipe and wipe any little bit of glue that got onto my work surface there. And now I can go ahead and take the puffy cloud borders that I die cut with the yellow and orange, and I'm going to use that to be the tops of my trees and also the bushes. It could be bushes, or it could be like the fallen leaves on the forest floor, however you want it to be. You know, it's all very just abstract. So I'm going to just go ahead and layer the yellow and the orange on the top, and then I will add the yellow on the opposite side on the bottom, just making sure to line that up with the edge of the circle. And then I'll grab my last little orange piece, and I'm going to tuck that in underneath the yellow. Since the orange on the top is overlapping, I let the yellow on the bottom overlap, just for, you know, something different. Then I'm going to grab my little moose here, and I'm going to add some more liquid glue to the back of him. And I'm going to tuck him down so that it looks like he's coming out of all that underbrush. And I did drop him on my work surface, but at least he didn't land on the cardstock and get glue all over that. So really quick to wipe that up. Now I'm just deciding where I want to add my little birds. I thought it might be cute to have them on his antlers, but it just didn't look quite right. So I decided to add one to the top of his head, and then the other one is going to look like he's sitting in the bushes over to the left there. For my sentiment, I'm going to take the Happy Birthday speech bubble from the Chit Chat stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that in some Lawn Fawn walnut ink. And I'll just make sure I get that good and inky and press down with the door of my mini Misty. And then it didn't give me a perfect impression, so I'm just going to ink that up a second time and stamp that right down over top. And while I have my mini Misty out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the liner of my card as well, since I'm using a dark brown cardstock. So I'm using the Dad Plus Me stamp set for this, and I'm going to ink up the little baby moose and the word Dad. So I can just put a comma after that word Dad and then start to write my message. So again, I didn't get a perfect impression the first time. That was my fault. I was hurrying. So I just stamped that down a second time, and perfect. For my card base, I'm using a piece of MFT's Hot Cocoa cardstock, and I've die cut my pattern papers and my insert with the outside in dies from Lawn Fawn. So I'll just go ahead and glue my insert down to the inside of the card first, just making sure to line that up so I have a nice border all around. And then I'm going to take my larger of the two pattern papers, and I'll glue that down to the front of the card. Again, just making sure I have that little border all around and it's all nice and even. Then I'm going to take my other pattern, which is a brown plaid, and I'm going to adhere that down towards the bottom of the card. So I just have a little bit of that top pattern peeking out at the bottom as well. And then I can grab my focal panel. I've added some foam tape to the back of that, so I'll just peel off the backer sheets, and then I can just line that up just where I want it and pop that down into place on top. I'll add a bit more liquid glue to the back of my sentiment and then pop that over top of the focal panel so that it looks as if the bird is wishing my dad a happy birthday. And that is going to complete the card for today. I'm going to keep it nice and simple because that's how my dad would like it, I think. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Here's an extra 2 videos you may also be interested in, and you can always click on my photo to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already. It really means a lot. You can also click the notification bell if you want to make sure that my videos always end up in your feed. I hope you all have an amazing day. Bye-bye.